In this video, you will see how to create a new 2D section view. You'll see how to modify the properties of the section view and how to adjust the clipping depth to control the extent of the view. And we'll also see how to create a 3D section to match the 2D section. Section views show a vertical slice through the building. They're useful for showing the vertical orientation of the building and also how the structure will work. The components being cut by the section are often shown in bold line work or with a solid fill, and the components that are beyond the cut line are shown in a lighter line work to represent their elevation. I have the exercise file Create Section View open, and in order to create a section we have to be in a 2D view. So first, from the project browser, I'll open the ground floor floor plan view. And now to create a section, we'll first go to the View ribbon tab, and from the Create panel we can click the Section tool. Now we need to draw a line along which we want the section to cut through the model. So I'll start by clicking at the top outside the building here, and now we'll draw this line down through the stairs and click on the opposite side outside the building. And now we can see that we have that section line drawn in the plan view. Looking at the project browser, we can see that we now have a group for section views. If I expand this, we can see that we have section 1, which is the view that we've just created. So we'll double click to open this view. Now we can see that section view being cut through the entire height of the building from the ground floor up to the top of core level, cutting through the stairs that we drew the section line through. If we zoom in a little, we can see the bolder, thicker lines of the walls and floors that have been cut by the section, and the thinner lines of the objects beyond, which are shown in elevation. I'll come down to the view control bar here, and we'll change the detail level setting from medium to coarse. And this will enable the coarse scale graphics to be displayed on the system families as is defined in their type properties. To show this, I'll select the floor here, and now from the properties palette, I'll click Edit Type. And in the type properties here, we can see that we have the parameter for the coarse scale fill pattern, which is set to be a solid fill, and beneath this the coarse scale fill color, which is set to be the dark grey, and hence in the view here we can see we have the dark grey solid fill on our floors. I'll click Cancel to close the type properties and not make any changes. And now to show the correlation between the section view and the section marker, we'll tile the views. But before we do that, we'll go to the Exterior View tab here, and we'll just close that down so that we have just a plan and the section view tabs. Now we'll go to the View ribbon tab, and on the Windows panel here, we'll click Tile Views. And now we can see that we have both the section and plan visible on the screen. I'll adjust the split here so that we show more of the section than the plan. And now from the navigation bar, we'll click Zoom All to Fit so that we can see both views in their entirety. Looking at the section line in plan, we can see it cutting through the building and through the stairs here that we can see in the section view. And looking at the corridor here, we can see a door, which again in the section view is here in elevation. And now in the middle of the building here, we can see the furniture and the internal doors here, which again we can see in the view. And finally at the top of the building here, we can see the staircase. And in the view here, we can see that stair tower going all the way up through the building. And when we create a section view, it looks in a specific direction depending on the direction that we drew the line in. So if I select the section view in the plan here, you can see the blue dashed line here representing the extents of the section. And near the top of the section, we can see the flip controls here, which if I click on, we can see it change direction, and now in the view it's looking at the back wall, which means that if we do create a section and it's looking in the wrong direction, we can easily use the flip controls to make it look in the direction that we want. Now looking at the blue dashed line that shows the extents of the section, we have some drag controls here to control the crop region. And if I drag this one down into the middle of the building here, we can see that reflected in the view. And actually if I swap into that view now and use the control here to drag the crop region back, and when we swap back to the plan view, we can see that's changed in that view too. We also have drag controls for the depth of the section. And if I drag these closer into the actual section line, we can see that a lot of these objects now disappear, as they're now beyond the actual depth of the section and therefore outside of its range. I can drag these back a little further and we can see those objects coming back into view. And this can also be controlled with a parameter in the properties here. So looking at the properties palette here, we can see we have the far clip offset parameter, and if I change this to 2 feet and then apply it, we can see that section get much shorter. A lot of the objects have disappeared and we can see that in the plan. And I'll come back and change this to 30 feet now. And again we can see those objects reappear and the depth change in the plan view again. Looking at the section marker in the plan view, we can see we have some controls here to cycle the actual markers at either end. With each time we click, we can apply the arrowhead, a filled bar, or turn it off completely. So we can control exactly what we see on the section markers. And zooming in a little closer, we can see we have the split functionality here to put a gap inside the actual section line. So I'll click on, and then we can use these controls to drag the line shorter. And this just means the section line won't be confused with any other objects in the plan view. However, it won't affect the actual section view itself, as this is still cut through the entire building. Now, looking at the section view, to help define objects that are closer to and further away from the section, we can enable depth queuing. So to do this, we'll make sure that section 1 view is active, and now from the properties palette, next to the graphic display options, we'll click the edit button. And in the graphic display options, we can expand out the depth queuing panel, and then we'll select show depth to enable it. I'll click apply so we can see the initial settings for this. And now we'll change the fade start end location, and we'll change the far location to be about 50. And then we'll set the fade limit to be around 20%. And when we click apply, we can see that those lines that are further away from the section line have now faded out significantly, and it makes it easier for us to see what's close to the section and what's further away. So we'll click OK to apply these changes. And now we'll rename the section view. So in the project browser, we'll right click over section 1 and click on rename, and then we'll rename this to be long section. Now we'll create a 3D view which matches the 2D long section view. And first, to do this, we'll close down the ground floor view tab here. And now in the project browser, we'll find the exterior view 3D view, and we'll right click over this, and then from the duplicate view option here, we'll choose duplicate, and then we can right click over the new view and we'll choose rename, and then we'll name this long section 3D. So now in the view, we can right click over the view cube, and then from the orient to view option, we can choose sections, and then in here we can see we have the long section, the view we've just created. So we'll choose this, and we can see the 3D view orbit around and the section box is enabled. And this now matches the extents of the 2D section view. And we can just use the view cube here to orbit this around so that we can see it in 3D. And then to make the view a little bit cleaner, we'll select the section box here, and then from the right click menu, we'll choose hide in view and then by category, so that we have that section view hidden. And now we'll go back to the view ribbon tab, and from the Windows panel here, we'll click tile views, and then we can just adjust these views to compare the 2D section with the 3D section. And that now completes creating our 2D section view with a matching 3D section.